Good day, my name is Bluesuit and today I'll be going over my review of the early access crafting life sim sandbox RPG known as My Time at Sandrock. In My Time at Sandrock, you play as a new arrival to the town of Sandrock, where you act as one of the town's busy builders, filling commissions for the townsfolk and restoring their economy in a currently single-player experience. 330 years ago, there was a bustling metropolis here that was destroyed by weapons of mass destruction. Today, Sandrock sits on the ruins of this old world as a sort of Wild West frontier town, complete with cowboys and sandstorms. Overall, the map really isn't that big, but it's definitely packed to the brim with shops, exploration, and its many charming residents. I really like the town of Sandrock a lot because of how much exploration there is in such a seemingly small space, but getting around town isn't always a smooth experience, as entering any building requires a load screen. It's usually not too much of an issue, but some days it feels like you're just going in and out of shops or houses all day, and it really takes a lot of the fun out of exploring around town. There is somewhat of an overarching story about how you restore the town, but as with most life sim games, the narrative progression is based mostly on the in-game calendar as you watch Sandrock advance through the seasons and tackle each new challenge and holiday as it comes up, and there's definitely no shortage of either. Your day-to-day life in My Time at Sandrock can get a bit repetitive as you're fulfilling so many small-time fetch quests and spelunking the same dungeons over and over, so these holidays and events that often crop up are a welcome change that mixes up the gameplay well. Coexisting with the residents is a big part of life in Sandrock, and there's a lot to love and hate about them collectively. Each one provides a service to the town, such as shopkeepers, bartenders, or law enforcement, and they all work to make the town of Sandrock feel alive with their own routines, quests, and voice-acted dialogue, which ranges greatly in quality. Some of these residents have creatively written backgrounds and are a lot of fun to interact with, while I felt that others I really couldn't stand for more than a couple of seconds. All of the writing in My Time at Sandrock definitely feels directed at younger audiences, and sometimes it felt like these characters were plucked straight out of Sesame Street. Building relationships with them, though, does have some fun mechanics. You can play a rock, paper, scissors-like card game called Critters, spar with them in the arena, complete quests for them, or give them gifts. Months from now, I'm sure you'll just be able to check the wiki for which residents love which gifts, but personally, I found it a lot of fun to track down your primary romance target each day to give them a new gift until you found one that they really loved. It does take a really long time to build these relationships, but fortunately there's a codex showing lots of useful information about them, such as which gifts you've found that they prefer and what passive bonuses the residents will offer you once you're friends with them. This part was a little less imaginative though, as nearly every resident just offers you a discount in their store, and I'd like to see more relationship bonuses as early access progresses. Crafting in My Time at Sandrock is a rewarding gameplay loop of hunting for materials, waiting for them to be processed by your manufacturing equipment, and then building structures that further your options. The system is paced in a way that discourages players from focusing only on one aspect of this gameplay loop though. Hunting for materials is limited by your stamina. Nearly everything that yields materials, like chopping down trees, digging through junk piles, or even fighting enemies, costs stamina, and it's easy to blow through your whole meter in only a few hours with only limited options of replenishing it besides sleeping until the next morning. Additionally, most items can't just be instantly crafted. Instead, you'll need to load all of your ingredients into your machines and have to wait for them to finish crafting on their own, which even if you have several copies of each machine can take several minutes of standing around doing nothing before that shiny new sword is ready for action. As I said, it's a process that's definitely meant to be multitasked, as you do a little bit of crafting, and a little bit of gathering, and a little bit of questing, and a little bit of relationship building each day. I personally enjoyed this method a lot, as it slows down the pace of the game and lets players enjoy each aspect of the game in little chunks. But if you're someone who's just trying to drill down one aspect alone, then you're gonna feel heavily restricted on how much you can get done in one day. The major thing that I'd like to see added is the ability to pin recipes. Most of the crafting you do will be done back at your base of operations, and it's not always easy to remember how many old world parts you were supposed to pick up at the store while you're out. As game time progresses, more and more mechanics get introduced as well, like planting crops and owning animals. This further limits how much you can get done in a single day, but if you're feeling overwhelmed, you can actually change how quickly the days pass in the in-game settings. Doing any of these things will net you experience that you can use to invest points in your skill tree. Right now, it's one of the most underdeveloped parts of the game though, as most skills aren't implemented yet, and the ones that do exist don't really feel that impactful, like minor % increases on experience gained. The last couple of things that I'd like to bring up are the combat and the inventory management in my time at Sandrock. Fighting enemies and taking their loot is a fun experience overall, with various unique melee weapon types and even guns. It's deepened a bit by the combat skill tree that lets you unlock longer combos to keep the pressure on your enemies as you break their stamina meter to open them up for bonus damage that usually stun locks them to death. Also, when you're crafting these new weapons, you can sometimes craft on a higher tier that come with bonus passives. However, even with all this apparent depth, combat still usually just involves spamming the attack button until your enemy's health bar is empty. Inventory management, on the other hand, has implemented some great ideas that actually prove much more useful. At any time, you can increase the size of your backpack by paying a slowly increasing fee, but it will still inevitably fill up. The great part is that the storage boxes that you build in your workshop are all connected to each other and to every piece of machinery that you have built, so you don't need to actually have things in your backpack to be able to use them while in your base. You'll still need to take stuff with you for when you want to use it or turn it in around town in quests or whatever, but by using storage boxes correctly, you essentially have infinite storage where you need it the most. You can pick up My Time at Sandrock right now on Steam for 25 bucks, but honestly, it's worth just a bit more than that. Please understand that this is a noticeably incomplete game, but there's still easily a couple dozen hours of content here before it starts to feel repetitive, and even more for players who really enjoy its grind. The town of Sandrock is an overall fun place to devote your time, and the crafting is as addictive as it is engaging, but it's still held back by a few oversimplified mechanics that can make it feel really repetitive in between world events. So I'm valuing My Time at Sandrock at $27 in its current state, and I highly recommend it if you're a fan of life sim RPGs and you don't mind playing something that's still in early access. I hope you enjoyed this review of My Time at Sandrock. Come see me on Twitch where you can watch our reviews in progress. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Until next time.